In 1815, on the other side of the Earth, an event occurred that changed art, science, and the destinies of millions of people. It's rarely mentioned in history books, but it was then that one of the most terrifying monsters in literature was born. On the Indonesian island of Sumbawa, Mount Tambora, unsuspected by anyone, was preparing to explode. On April 5th, 1815, the first explosion began. But this was only a warning of what would happen 5 days later. On April 10th, Mount Tambora exploded with a force unseen on Earth in 13 centuries. The sound of the explosion was heard 2,500 kilometers away. People on neighboring islands thought a war had begun. About 150 cubic kilometers of ash, rock, and molten rock rose into the sky. The mountain literally lost 1.5 kilometers in height in a few hours. A giant crater formed where its summit once stood. Tens of thousands of people died from lava, from ash, and from the famine that began immediately after the eruption. But the real catastrophe was just beginning. Ash rose into the stratosphere. From there, it would circle the entire planet. The tiniest rock particles surrounded the Earth in a dense layer. Sunlight began to be reflected back into space. The planet began to rapidly cool, and no one in the world yet understood exactly what was happening. In 1816, the effect covered the entire North Pole. Scientists would later call this year a terrifying name. The year without a summer. That's what it would be called in Europe and North America, where the most inexplicable thing happened. In June 1816, snow fell in New England. In summer, farmers looked in horror at their frozen fields. In Germany, France, and Switzerland, temperatures dropped several degrees below normal summer temperatures. Rivers froze in July. Crops were destroyed. People didn't understand what was happening to the world. The sky changed. Sunsets took on an unnatural blood-red hue due to ash in the atmosphere. It was these very sunsets that artist William Turner later captured in his paintings, without realizing it. But no one was thinking about art yet. Europe was facing consequences the likes of which it hadn't seen for decades. Wheat and potato crop failures plunged food prices. In some regions, the price of bread increased dramatically. Famine began. Mass, real starvation in Europe, the first such scale in a long time. In Switzerland, people ate grass and tree bark. In Ireland, the first food riots in a decade erupted. Thousands of families uprooted themselves and went in search of food and work in other parts of Europe. Historians believe it was the famine of 1816 that triggered a massive wave of European emigration to America. Oat prices soared so high that there was nothing to feed horses. People began looking for alternatives. It was then that the German inventor, Karl Dreiss, devised the first prototype of the bicycle, a horseless vehicle. One natural disaster literally pushed humanity toward a new form of transportation that is still used today. But the most unexpected consequence of the year without a summer occurred neither in the fields nor on the roads. It occurred at a villa on Lake Geneva in Switzerland, where a group of young English writers had gathered. Lord Byron rented the Villa Diodati on the lake shore, planning to spend the quiet summer of 1816 there. Poet Percy Shelley, his future wife Mary, and her half-sister Claire Claremont came to visit him. But instead of a sunny Swiss summer, they were greeted by incessant rain, cold, and gloomy grey skies. Because of the weather, the group couldn't go outside for weeks. They were literally trapped inside the villa. To pass the time, they read German collections of Gothic horror stories to each other by the fireplace. One evening, Byron challenged each of them to write their own supernatural story. Thus began a wager that would go down in history. 18-year-old Mary Shelley struggled to come up with a plot for a long time. Then, she had a terrifying dream. She saw a scientist bending over a creature he had constructed from dead flesh and brought back to life. This dream became the beginning of the novel Frankenstein, or the modern Prometheus, one of the most important books in literary history. Mary wrote by candlelight while the storm of that year without a summer raged outside. The novel was published in 1818 and became an instant sensation, though the author's name was initially unspecified. Many believed the book was written by a man. No one believed the author was only 19 years old. But Mary Shelley wasn't the only one inspired by that dark summer at the Villa Diodati. Byron's personal physician, John Polidori, also entered the competition and wrote his own story. His story was called The Vampire. It was this book that established the image of the elegant aristocratic vampire for centuries to come. Before Polidori, vampires in folklore were ugly monsters. After him, they were charming and dangerous gentlemen. It turns out that one natural disaster gave birth to two major archetypes of horror literature forever. Byron himself wrote the dark poem Darkness that same night, about a world plunging into eternal winter. In the lines of the poem, he literally described what was happening around him in reality that summer. None of the company knew about the eruption on the other side of the world. They were simply living through the aftermath. Scientists would only connect Mount Tambora and the year without a summer decades later. Today, Mount Tambora is considered the most powerful eruption in the last 13 centuries of human history. Its effects were felt across the world, from the fields of Ireland to a lake in Switzerland, and even the literary genre of horror itself. A single volcanic explosion changed the planet's climate, the economy of Europe, and gave the world two immortal monsters, Frankenstein and his monster, a vampire aristocrat. Both were born on the same cold, stormy night in 1816. History proves sometimes the most terrible natural disasters give birth to the most immortal works of art. Turner's paintings, with their bloody sunsets, are still preserved in the world's finest museums. Mary Shelley's novel has remained relevant for 200 years and continues to inspire films, books, and television series. And the Tambora volcano remains active today, a silent reminder of the power our planet holds. If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe. There are many more forgotten pages of history to discover.